understand the issues of the Wyatt in the bigger picture too?
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
All right, welcome in. Glad to have you aboard. As you know, on Friday evenings, we kind of hang on one particular subject matter, but this one is vast. It's got so many tentacles, and anytime this guest is on my set, I never have enough time for the show. So any commentary about today's events will have to wait till Monday, because when we tape our Friday shows on Thursday. I always tell you that up front because I don't want you to think I'm like cuckoo that I missed something today, or that something we're talking about actually evolved or developed. I'm not sure anything on this particular matter. It's got a 24-hour cycle worry, news cycle worry, but FYI. So, the Wyatt Detention Center is now kind of front and center. The Attorney General is conducting a review of an incident that happened there the other night. Let me just kind of set the scene on what was really kind of the last major report. Here's the foundational problem. Well, I should say not the foundational issue, but the core, big story. Protests over X and Y at Wyatt, immigration in general. And then this, employee decides he's just going to slow drive his way into the parking lot. Hello. Now it's under investigation. So here's what the AG had to say latest.
I think it is a mistake for a prosecutor to leap to conclusions before they have everything.
It's been nearly a week since Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona launched a joint criminal investigation into this incident, now gaining national attention. This truck driving toward protesters blocking an employee parking lot at the Wyatt. Those protesters demanding the facility release immigration detainees housed there. Nerona said so far they've interviewed 31 witnesses and still have to interview at least 20 more.
There are two things here that we're evaluating. One is the operation of the vehicle itself. The second is the deployment of what is commonly known as pepper spray.
He stressed the importance of speaking to each witness on scene, asking anyone with information or video of the incident to contact them.
I'll be frank, there have been some conflicting reports as to the extent of the injuries, and the extent of the injuries is important to whatever decisions we make going forward.
Central Falls and state police are also involved in this investigation. AG Nerona estimates it will take several more weeks of gathering evidence before any conclusions are made.
Deborah Gonzalez is the director of the, I want to get it right, the Roger Williams University Immigration Law Clinic, and for me, a trusted source of reasonability on these matters. Someone say, hey, he's just an immigration lawyer, right? He's just an immigration lawyer, you hack. Right?
That's true. It's true. I'm just an immigration lawyer. It's true. It's true. They're right.
No, but you've got a really good worldview. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Got any advice for people driving trucks?
Yeah, don't run people over.
Okay. And that's our show for this evening. Thank you very much for joining us. I mean, really, huh?
I mean, it's right, but I think the truck incident speaks to what's happening in this nation as it relates to hate, bigotry, right? It doesn't matter what you believe about immigration. I think I've said this to you before. It doesn't matter what you believe. But I think that there needs to be some respect in terms of what other folks believe, right? We talk a lot about the Second Amendment. How about the First Amendment? How about the fact that those folks had a right to be there to protest? From what I understand about the scene that evening, Central Falls Police was there. They didn't do anything. What was happening that caused that security guard to think that he was anywhere in the right to do what he did? You can't move your truck. How about you park the truck and you call a police officer and say, I'm trying to get to work or not get to work, whatever he was trying to do there, and wait for somebody to arrive, and call the boss and say, I'm going to be late today, or call the wife and say, hold the dinner, I'll be there soon.
Okay, so
craziness.
Inarguable logic on your part, but you said something really profound, as you usually do. I asked this question last week. this incident kind of rolled into it, national stuff on a repetitive cycle of news. I saw something happen. You'll laugh. I'm not going to tell the story because what happens on the golf course for me, it's like Vegas. It stays on the golf course. But I saw something on the golf course the other day that horrified me. Just the behavior was as angry based as, and believe me, I'm no prude. Have I tossed a club or two? Not proud of it. Yes, not often, not but I'm talking about something that was just insane. And I came back to the radio that day and I said, I don't think this is a new conversation, but there's a lot of anger out there, man. And there is a lack of tolerance, understanding. I don't know how it's measurable, but I feel it.
So I think a
Do you
couple
feel it?
Now more than I ever have in the past. Now more than ever, even as a woman. I don't think I had felt it as much as a woman as I do now, in terms of...
See, I told you, we always have 3 shows going at once. What do you mean?
Well, because, right, the hate to people of color, and I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're yellow, or if you're brown, but there is such an amount of hate and despise to people of color. And I don't want to say that that same hate is on the same level as it is for women, but I do believe that women in this day and age under this presidency is being devalued. I really believe that. And as a woman, I need to come in here and stand my ground that I have value, and every woman does, so does every person of color have value. And that we all need to be respectful to how other people feel and what they bring to the table. Because the only thing you and I see, Dan, is ourselves in the mirror. I am a white woman. I look white, right? I have lighter brown eyes, I have brown hair. When people look at me, they see a white woman. I am privileged in that sense. There are a lot of people who have darker skin than me that are not privileged like I am, because people treat me differently based on the color of my skin, as they do to you. But they're not going to do the same thing for the brown guy that's sitting inside the Wyatt.
Yeah, well, look, thank you for saying it. Couldn't agree more. White America doesn't want to hear it.
No, nobody cares.
Check that. A lot of the most verbal and pushbacky of white America doesn't want to hear it. I think and the term white America, here we go, that's divisive in and of itself, and here we go. I said it, you didn't, but hey, we're all created equal, I'm going to say all the right things, so why don't you just know, blah, blah, blah. And you say, what, walk a minute in my shoes? I mean, walk a minute in my client's shoes, walk a minute in my female shoes, walk a minute and walk a minute, walk a minute, walk a minute.
Take a step back. Take a step back.
My radio phone lines are, when this conversation comes up, my radio phone lines are full of hardworking, tax-paying, middle-class, white, Southern New Englanders, Mass, Rhode Island, who are like, I've had enough of you telling me that you're not being treated well. Grow up.
And we're completely off topic here today, but I do.
No, not really.
Here's what I'll say to that, right? America has this thing with racism, right? If you're racist, you're bad. You're a bad person if you're racist. I'm not racist. How can I possibly be racist? That would make me bad. We can't think about racism in that tone.
It's systemic.
It's systemic. We can't think about racism as a good-bad binary, right? We need to think about racism as, wait a minute, this is how I grew up. This is what I see on TV. These are the people that are in charge, and they're making sure they're in charge. The president isn't out there talking about the 4 women of color for no reason. He's out there because here we have 4 new members of Congress who are women and women of color who are out there doing what I think is a fabulous job, defending themselves and their community. And here's a white man saying, well, you know, they don't believe in this, or they don't want that, or they don't, whatever the other thing is.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I don't like a lot of their politics,
That might be true.
but the way they've been treated is horrifying.
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 Because that says to me that women aren't going to be welcome when they're sitting at the table having these conversations. Let's not think about this as good or bad. Let's think about this as systemic, and let's change it.
Which is why, by the way, I've never, the cat's out of the bag, you can't put the genie back in the bottle. The overuse of the term racism or racist, I think, is become problematic. Bigotry, I think, is you know, if you call somebody a bigot, if you point out bigotry, I think bigotry is kind of the oil in the racist engine, right? But racism is a system. Racism is a, I'll tell you what's racist. I said it the other day. Schools are in incredibly poor shape in the city of Providence, so we're going to have a 2-day community cleanup. Okay, we're going to have a 2-day community cleanup. So you, you know, you constituents who are mostly black and Hispanic, by the way, can put your boots on, make sure you cover your toes so you don't hurt yourself, and get your tails to the school and be part of the community who fights back and cleans their schools. Oh yeah? Ask the people in North Kingstown to do that and see what happens.
Amen. Amen to you.
That's racism.
Because it was exactly what I thought when I saw it on the news that the city of Providence was asking its constituents to come and clean the schools. Excuse me? What am I paying my taxes for? I'm paying taxes so that you get somebody in that school and you clean it. That is insane that you would ask the people from the community to come and clean that. You're right. The people from North Kingstown aren't coming. The people from East Greenwich aren't coming. The people from Barrington aren't coming.
And the people from Cumberland where I live aren't coming either.
They're not coming either. So why would you ask the people from Providence?
I got a call from a guy in Coventry. Guess what? Coventry had a cleanup. They're asking you to paint the gym or something like that. Yeah. There's some project that's short-funded, okay, one-off type of thing. You don't respond to a Johns Hopkins report of squalor in part by saying, all right, peasants, you come help clean this up because we didn't provide the responsibility, the priority, the funding, and the organization to be able to get it done for you, but it's okay because your people are more or less subservient anyway. It's incredible. From a mayor of color.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I
goes
think
to the King of the Hill politics
it
up
was
there.
absolutely wrong.
And nobody stood up.
Nobody
say.
said
I
it.
asked the city council president to step up and stop it. I asked.
What'd they say?
She's like, I agree with you. It's terrible. Then stop it. Anyway, we'll get to the Wyatt, I think, next.
We went.
Okay, so back to originally scheduled programming, already in progress. This was the look. You've already made your commentary on that. Who could argue with you? What were people protesting? I mean, your internal understanding. You've discussed this on shows before about what's happening at Wyatt and everything else. And I expect objectivity from you. Are all of the issues that are being articulated on the money?
Have you met me? I'm not objecting. No, okay. So the reason for the protests are twofold. That it's not funny while they're protesting, and I believe in what they're protesting about. I was not there protesting that day, and I'm happy to say why. They're protesting, number one, about the fact that Wyatt is there, period, right? Why is there a federal, what I believe is a privately owned or quasi-privately owned detention facility in the smallest city of the state, which is predominantly brown, by the way? Why? Why is this facility there? Now, that's one issue, right? And Wyatt has been there for years now. What, a couple of decades now, I think? The second issue was the detention of immigrant detainees at the Wyatt facility, considering that 10 years back they had the death of a Chinese national while he was in ICE detention. So they're protesting that. They're saying, we don't want Wyatt here. Wyatt shouldn't be in the state of Rhode Island, period. And it certainly shouldn't be in Central Falls. Put it someplace else, if you have to have it at all. But if you have to have it, let's not detain ICE detainees. When Wyatt began detaining ICE detainees, I too was against it, and I spoke out about it. But then, through the Immigrant Coalition, of which I am a part of through the Immigration Clinic, and the Immigrant Coalition is a group of grassroots organization, really, of 30 NGOs in the state of Rhode Island. So, Immigration Clinic, Pro Bono Collaborative, ACLU, Rhode Island Center for Justice, Dorcas International Institute, Interfaith Coalition. Like, there's 30 of us. Planned Parenthood. I can't name everybody. I don't know all of them, but there's 30 of us. The Immigrant Coalition was able to get authorization from ICE for us to go in there. I went in, I have been in there, and I go as regularly as I can. We do go every other week to do Know Your Rights presentations and consultations with the detainees that are at Wyatt.
And do they know their rights?
They know their rights now, right, that we're in there. And we're not the only ones in there.
Do they go in knowing their rights?
No, they don't go in knowing anything.
Do they go in understanding how they got there? They came from God knows where. They came from the border, most of them.
They know they're being detained by ICE. They know that they're going to get a credible fear interview. And they know that they're in removal proceedings. They know that. They don't know anything else. They don't understand how this process works. They don't understand that they can ask for bond. They don't understand anything. So we go in there to kind of streamline the process for them, explain to them what the forms say, translate, do whatever we can. And we work with, so there's the Immigration Coalition attorney, myself, who goes in there, Cecily Ziegler from Dorcas International, and Carl Kruger from Dorcas International. And we go in there every other week, and we do Know Your Rights presentations. My student attorneys have now begun to also go in there every other Friday and do consultations with the detainees that are in there.
All right, let me accelerate the conversation. Is there a problem with the operation of Wyatt?
From the inside, now I've been to many detention facilities. I've been to Carnes in Texas. I've been to Ocilla, Georgia, Irwin House of Corrections. I've been to the Dartmouth House of Corrections in Bristol County. I've been to Suffolk. I've been to Plymouth. Wyatt has to be the cleanest that I've ever been to, the brightest in terms of lighting. It's still a detention facility. It's a prison. There's no question about that. But the security guards that work at Wyatt, and I'm not defending Wyatt detaining ICE detainees. Let me say this to the camera. I am not defending this, but I have been to other detention facilities, and all things considered, if I am going to have a client be detained anywhere, I'd rather him be detained at Wyatt. That's what I'm saying.
So that's what I expected from you in terms of objectivity. Notwithstanding that,
I don't want them here. I don't want anybody. Why are we detaining people? Why are we, like this whole idea that we're going to detain every person that comes in, or, because we're trying to keep them out. Oh my God. There are other ways of doing this. Like how about we contribute to the economies of these countries versus spending $3.6 billion on a wall? How about that? I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe we should think about this for a minute. How about we help the communities in the countries from which these folks are coming in so that they don't want to leave? What a novel idea. I'm sorry, I'm so sarcastic.
Well, no, I mean, first of all, the wall's not getting built. It's a fallacy.
This is an election. We're going into an election cycle here. You realize that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the point?
He's taken away tons of money from various projects.
He's trying to. I mean, Puerto Rico is the latest.
Military.
Yeah.
Right? Put Puerto Rico aside, because people feel funny about Puerto Rico. Let's put Puerto Rico aside. And my husband's Puerto Rican, so I have some fond place in my heart for Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans. But put that aside for just a second. Do you know how many millions of dollars are being taken away from various military bases so that we can go build a wall?
Yeah. But I just don't think it's going to.
I hope not.
I think it's still more bark than bite at this point. But the idea that you want to protest, when we come back, we'll talk about, protesting stuff that will never happen. The outcomes that are almost impossible. It's interesting. Stay with protesting that Wyatt exists. Look, Look, why it may not exist, here's the thing that's interesting about it. The irony is that why it may not exist very much longer, because they're upside down anyway. They've got long-term financial problems. Already the Central Falls city government has been in a tussle with them for a long period of time. That building becomes condos in the near future might be a pretty good hedged bet versus the result of protests that it shouldn't be there. That's,
I mean,
are you big on protests? Do you feel? I don't know. It seems to me that clear objectives and attainable objectives are the best thing to make noise over. But
I am not a protester. You know, have I been when this administration did away with DACA? Yes, I went out and I spoke against it.
You were all over the place.
I was because
and should be.
I believed in that.
And it's still it's actually still an important issue, and it's on the shelf because this guy moves so fast you can't even keep up.
I can't. Right? No. Yes, that's absolutely true. I can't keep up with everything that's going on every day. I'm not a protester. I'm an advocate. So, am I going to be on the front line saying, get Wyatt out of here? No.
You're one person at a time.
I'm going to be in the courtroom fighting for that guy that they're trying to get out, who has rights. That's where I'm at. You know, and I don't begrudge people who do. So if people think that that's what they need to do and they want to put it out there, and you know, I think there is space for that, right? There is space for people to remind this government, the government in Central Falls, right? The governor and her office. We actually have a federal detention facility in a residential community. Let's not forget that, right? This isn't like the ACI that's sitting in Cranston in an industrial area. This is a federal detention facility sitting in a residential area.
Well, you know what, community. Go back on how this all started. Community accepted it. Central Falls is in a pivot place. Central Falls has a chance to be one of the Renaissance communities in America. It can end up being Hoboken, New Jersey, which was a disgusting pit, and now is an up and coming. You know, it should be little. It should be little Puerto Rico, little Cuba, little Latino. It should be like Federal Hill. It should be celebrating. We have to understand some of the bigotry that exists out there. Forget it and market against it. I think if Central Falls was celebrated, it will succeed. But if it's not celebrated, it's going to list the way as a missed opportunity. Last word I got.
Hopefully it's getting there. I think I like to think
feels
that
like it is in some ways.
That the mayor
there's some nice development going on.
Doing a lot of the right things. So
appreciate your
what I
perspective.
say about that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Final word when we come back. Alrighty, coming up Monday, we will check in on what was the first full week of school for most. By the way, that really gets under my craw too, that the school systems start before Labor Day, many of them. It's just so dumb. Save Labor Day. That's my cause. That's my protest. Drive a truck through me. Save Labor Day. Save Labor Day. Anyway, you have a great weekend. See you.